Hey, what's going on? It's Joe Teel, the host of 180 Creator Interviews. Today, you're tapped into the solo pod, man. It's just me. No interviews, nobody in the other chair. Just gonna ramble a little bit, get a couple thoughts out of my head. It's like the third time trying this. It never works. It never works. The solo pod is so hard because you have nobody to bounce off of, and so you kind of just, it's like carrying your own conversation. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. I just did this. I just sat down for 30 minutes and went through like this whole complex talking about politics and choosing side and working through our biases and loving and respecting people and all this stuff. And I went down all these rabbit holes and this and that, and then the audio file corrupted. So I was like, no, it was the video file this time. It's, and then a couple months ago, I did the solo pod and I was like, man, this was really good. I sent it out to a couple people and then I got scared. I didn't post it. So I'm trying to conquer my fear, man. It's like, I see people like Theo Vaughn and stuff do the solo pod. And it's like, even for him, it's tough. Even for, you got to be really good to carry the solo pod through. It's drinking that non-alcoholic, boy. I just miss the taste. You got to be really good to carry the solo pod by yourself. But today I'm going to attempt it. The interviews I've been doing, I feel like they've been great. I've been having a good time. I've been getting some really cool people on here. If you're tapped into this channel, thank you. Man, I've just had such a good variety of guests, ages and race, and it's just diverse on accident. Like I'm not just out here looking for diversity. It's just like my life has been like that. I've been blessed. I've been around a lot of different people and met so many cool people. And kind of being kind of like a more open alternative type dude, I've been able to, but also learning business, running a business, knowing how to be a straight up guy. Also, I just feel like I can touch a lot of crowds, no diddy. But it's been fun, dude. And to do so many, I've done like I'm getting close to 50 now in about 7 months. And so, I do 3 or 4 a week. And for whatever reason, I've kind of slowed down. I think it's because of my, I don't do this full time. And so really I'm running out of content and I like to post a lot of content. So here we go, the solo pod. Oh man, I do this by myself and I fight, I really can't afford to make this the big production that I want it to be. Just have to chip away at it. And I think that's important, because right now I understand where I'm at. I'm in the dark times. I'm in the early stages. I'm in the garage of the big company to come soon. I'm putting in the necessary work, the necessary sacrifices, the call to adventure and what comes with it. It's just, I've been here before and that's what's been good, because I've created businesses that have worked. And, the podcast, I think of it as a business. And so I'm just in the mud right now. I'm in the thick of it. I'm right in the middle of some of the hardest parts of it. And that's just getting it off the ground. And it has consumed my life in a lot of ways. The podcast definitely has, because all the files are so huge and I can't straight up can't afford to pay someone to do all this work. So, I do the interviews, then I do the work. And even when I'm interviewing people, I'm looking around, I'm like, man, so much stuff that's got to be done. I'm just crossing my fingers, hoping the video file don't get corrupt. Try to throw on the headphones every once in a while, make sure my audio file is messed up. I had a great interview with like a big person around town and the audio file corrupted. It's like the 6th time. And so you weigh your options. It's like, Dan, do I want to give away the profit I'm making from the business that is making profit and get somebody to help me when this doesn't make any money. It's like it just seems like I should push through, just put my head down and work through this. That's just what feels right for me. If you're, I don't know, if you want to do something cool and you have this passion, I feel like you should go try it, but you do need to approach it. You do need to think about where you'll be in 6 or 7 months when you're just knee deep in the shit. So right now I'm just knee deep in this shit. You know what I'm saying? It's not as fun as when I started. And that always happens with everything you do, especially something that's passion driven, like a business that draws off passion. Once you get knee deep in the shit, it isn't near as fun. But that's where your discipline is. That's where you need to have an understanding before you start something that it's going to suck at times and it's going to be really hard. You got to think like 6, 7, 8 months in, a year in. How many episodes am I going to have to put out before they gain some traction? I've had a couple episodes get a little bit of views. I've had some clips get some views, but I'm nowhere near like an established podcast. I'm nowhere near any chart. I'm nowhere near any of that. So it's like I've done 31 episodes of Addicted to Arguing and 45 episodes of, the 180 Creator interviews, getting 75 episodes in. That seems like a lot. But then I think of all the people, all the podcasts I hopped on to late that did hundreds of episodes, like Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. I love Matt and Shane. The first episode I watched was like the 400th episode. So, before I find the person that may be exactly, my type of fan, somebody that really likes what I have to say, I have to put 400 episodes out. And that's scary. But that's just what it is. So, that's my thoughts on this, as the podcast is physically and mentally wearing me down, beating my ass right now. You just have to do it. It's just like, you just have to sit down in front of this camera and talk. You conquer your fears. You put all that shit behind you. You look at the camera and you just fucking say whatever comes to your head, And I feel like that is, that's the secret to keeping it going. I've been enjoying life though. I've been enjoying life. Business is booming, but my other business is booming. The podcast, there's people that want to be on the show, and that's a blessing. I'm interviewing people. There's people hitting me up. They want to be on the show. So many people hitting me up that I don't get to do all of them that want to come, So I'm sacrificing, but I'm having fun. And I've yet to have an interview I didn't like to, and that's been cool. I've had an episode of Addicted to Arguing before that I just wasn't feeling all the way. But that one's different. That's a different animal. So some things going on with me lately. Man, I've been fighting through some little sicknesses and shit. And I just really been trying to take better care of myself. I think that's the only way. As I get older, I'll be 30 this year. I have to think of shit differently. I'm big on the ice baths. I'm big on the sauna. I'm big on working out and exercising and playing ball and doing things that, taking care of myself in a way where I can trying to eat a little better, but I still mess up. But it's like, I want to feel better. So I got to do the right things. You know what I'm saying? In order. And that's like I was saying, I'm knee deep in the trenches of podcasting right now, trying to do what I feel like is right. I need every drop of energy I can get, especially working a full-time job, working outside. You get tired, you get worn down. But there's that end goal, There's that end goal. And that's what you really got to look to. And then I think there's another angle of these interviews that I also look at. Like right now, out of the 45 interviews I've done, I think that there's a chance that somebody will get famous out of these people I've picked. Because I already brought them on the show because I saw something special in them. So, I could have I could have the first interview with somebody that could be a potential superstar, and this could be the interview that people go back and watch. Oh, look, this is his first interview before he blew up, or whatever, And so, hell, I may blow up. Who knows? What I want out of podcasting is it would be nice to make some money, but that's not really the goal. And I feel like if I start out just looking for the money, looking for the views, looking for the feedback, if that's what I'm really going for, that's going to corrupt the show, And so I try to approach the show, both of the shows, with, I want the show to be good. And if I consistently put on a good show, I consistently have good conversations, interesting topics, I feel like it'll go somewhere. The solo pod, man. I feel like I got to this right here is a part of mastering the craft, to be able to sit down and just talk, just brain dumping, basically. I feel like there's still an art to it. I don't think everybody can do this. And I don't think everybody can interview. And the more I interview people, the more I understand it is like an art form. And then I listen to other interviews. So I'm always listening to other podcasts. I'm always listening to Joe Rogan, Lex Fridman, Sean Ryan, tons of people that interview. The whole, it's like an interview style. And you see people's different interview styles, different questions, different ways, excuse me, to expand and get the person they're talking to talk about what they love. Because at the end of the day, when you're interviewing somebody, all you got to do is get them to talk about what they love. If they talk about what they love, you win. It's like a cheat code. Somebody comes in here, they love painting, they love tattoos, they love, that. Let's talk about painting. Let's talk about tattoos. What do you love about tattoos? How did you start? This and that. How did that? You start asking different type of questions. You start learning the art. Like when you ask somebody, okay, how does that make you feel? Now you're going to get some type of response that they really have to explain how something moved them. So they say, something happened with this client. Okay, well, how did that make you feel? Or how did that affect how you do business afterwards? After that deal. Now they have to go in and explain. So, you're just learning to ask the right questions, get people to open up, talk about what they love, finding the right guest. Like I said, somebody I interview is going to get famous. And I'll have the first one. It's a really, really cool idea. I don't know. I think you have to fight through a bunch of insecurities. You have to fight through imposter syndrome. You have to fight through all that. Because I think it all the time, like, who would want to listen to me talk? But I just have to zone that out. I can't think like that. I have to just go and make the content. I have to say what I feel is true to me. And wherever my brain and heart decide to go when I cut the microphone and the camera on, that's where it went. These are the truest reflections of me. The more I learn to zone the camera and the lights and all that shit out, just kind of letting some of my soul go, some of what I actually think, in pure conversations. It's nice. It's nice. I'm giving people like a way to like a window into my soul, basically. And we all have our journeys. We all have, different. Nobody's lived the exact same life, and that's so crazy. You could even take two people that are twins, identical twins. They may live a more similar life than most people, but they don't live the same life. Nobody can live the same life. And the fact that we're all in different times, that, even if there was a person even in history that was similar to you, they didn't live your exact life because they were in a different time. Time is so crazy because we're all in a different part in our journey. And it's just like 18-year-old Joe and 28-year-old Joe. Fuck, I'm 29, but still, You know what I'm saying? Let's say 19-year-old Joe and 29-year-old Joe are in a way the same person because it was me, but I have 10 more years of time, 10 more years of experience, 10 more years of learning, 10 more years of mistakes, 10 more years of triumph, 10 more years of tragedy, 10 more years of understanding, 10 more years of confusion. Health fluctuates. I've been fat. I've been skinny. I've been alcoholic. I've been sober. Luckily, I'm still sober. We're all in different parts of our journey. And so you meet somebody and they're that version of themselves, that day in that specific time. So when you interview somebody, you are interviewing that person, but in a way, you're kind of interviewing just that person that day. Because even their emotions and how they were feeling when they showed up, or maybe the emotions they felt when you asked the right questions or whatever, those are still momentarily, those are still tied to the time. When people try to sound real smart and they say time doesn't exist. Time's just a figment of our imagination and shit like that. But I struggle with that type of thinking because like, even if you don't call time, it still passes. That's what I think. Let's say we didn't call it years. Let's say we didn't call it minutes. Let's say we didn't call it seconds. Let's say we didn't keep a watch. None of that shit. It didn't slow it down none. It didn't change anything. You could say time's an illusion. You have the hippie saying time's an illusion, man. But in a way, time is not really an illusion because regardless how you feel about time or what time is or philosophically how we want to define time, it passed. And so to bring it back to what I'm thinking the interview-wise, it's like I interviewed that person that day. Because like I said, they may get famous one day, but somebody may want to know who they were before. I may hold the key to who this famous person was before they got famous. And when you record things, the cool thing about recording, so think about this. Before, like, let's say just the 1900s, all of time, all that, at least that we know, as far as technology as we understand it and what technology has been since the beginning of time, just think we are in a time where you can actually capture a moment with like a camera, like this. It's really wild to think about how people don't, people weren't able to capture experiences like this. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. People weren't able to capture experiences. I have videos in my phone that are like almost sacred to me. They're like cool moments of when like my daughter did this or my son did this or here's this picture of me and my wife or this video of me and her or this time we were here and this time we were there and to be able to capture that that is like a something else. It's like being able to bottle up something that happened. So let's say time is just like a river that keeps flowing. But when you record, you get to scoop that thing up and you get to like put it in a jar and put it on a shelf. And when you want to look at that specific, slice of the river, you look at it. This is what happened that day. That's insane. It's really cool to think about that we're lucky enough to be able to scoop up experiences, to scoop up a jar full of time and look at it later because, like I said, just 100 years ago, really 200 years ago, for sure 200 years ago, and all the way back after that, they could never do that. We think of the dangers of technology. We think of the AI, the new stuff that's coming down the pipeline, but man, some of the things we don't appreciate enough. Like our new phones and the clarity they have and just the ability to catch a moment of history in high definition, And that's another reason why AI is scary, because now they're going to be able, now they can catch moments in history in high definition, but then alter them. That's interesting. Being able to alter what used to be concrete evidence. Think of a trial. Back in the day, they had you on camera, that's your ass. But now, that doesn't necessarily mean that's your ass. Could have been deep faked. Could have been, I feel like it's getting harder and harder to test it. But at the same time, I feel like they're also developing ways to check it. So they'll just have to, I don't know. Who knows if we can keep up with technology? But this is, I think, but I want to zero back in on this time. This is like a badass time to be alive, because, you know, if let's say technology evolves and destroys us, okay? We got to live in this window of like what it was like without technology being in our face all the time. And then we got to see what it was like, so it's like this cool little window of time where we kind of got the best of both worlds, where the emergence of computers came out, but we still played in the yard all day, as kids. Like when I was born, 1994, we still spent a majority of the time in the yard, in reality, in the woods, doing things with people, And it wasn't till right as I was becoming an adult that technology was just like so in your face that you almost couldn't separate from it. So, I don't know, there's good in technology, there's bad in technology, but I enjoy thinking about some of the ways we're blessed that other people didn't because of technology. Oh my God, we have so many things. But thinking about time and thinking about, catching videos, I've never kind of thought about it how I just thought about it. And so it's interesting. And maybe that's one thing about the solo pod. I feel like I can get to places thinking wise that I'm not sure I can get to without doing this, because the camera rolling, the audio rolling, it kind of is keeping me having to think and go down the path, or even having a conversation with somebody. They may say something that takes my train of thought somewhere else. In fact, all the time, people say things and move the conversation away from where I want the conversation to stay. And then I have to make a decision while somebody is explaining something to me in an interview. And I have to think, I'm like, dang, I think that we should stay on this topic longer, but I have to, they may skip to another topic. So you have to figure out, how do I get them back? Because I don't think, because there's been several times when I first started doing podcasts where we'd hit a point where I really thought we should do more with this point, but then we don't do nothing with the point because we moved on too fast. And so a skill I've been trying to work on is bringing it back and thinking, how can I get this back? So even while people are talking, I'm constantly thinking about how to drive the conversation back in the direction I want it. And that's just another proof that conversation really is an art form and a show is really an art. And I think you just got to do this shit. You just got to do it over and over and over and over again. You cut on your camera, you take a little piece of time, like we were talking about earlier, you scoop it up, and that is a memory that you can come back to, because memory is complicated. How much do we actually remember? What is memory? Oh man, that's a whole different rabbit hole that I don't feel like going down because it's getting late. But, all I can do is do these podcasts, try to perfect my craft, and, just see where it takes me. But yeah, man, Joe Teel 180, the 180 Creator interviews drop several times a week, hopefully. And appreciate you tapping in. Y'all be blessed.